There's a really cool program called Coop. It's a company that I don't know, the company, whatever. I think Ryder started it.
Okay.
And what they do is they take. It's a really interesting concept. They take anybody that has a truck that's sitting.
Yeah.
It's almost like an Airbnb for trucks, and they basically put it so you can put your truck on Coop, and then somebody can rent it, and they basically cross rent it, and then Coop handles all the insurance and fees, and they probably take.
I've never heard of that. Coop.
Listen, I'm in the industry, and I own a truck. I owned a truck, and I never heard of it either. I can always rent from Penske, and I can always rent from my company that I lease from was Penske, so I get a good rate. But these guys are even cheaper. And the ironic thing is, this is the most ironic, is that the company, the warehouse that I'm moving into, is a friend of mine owns the company. I have a partnership with them in Cleveland. He bought a rental company down here, and they have 14 trucks that are sitting. So how I found out.
Nope. I think you froze. Did I freeze? Frank, can you hear me?
Yep, I hear you. Jamie froze.
Okay. I gotta take a screen cap of that.
Yeah, really.
Hold on. I'll send it to him. All right, I got it.
I'll blackmail him with that later.
It's interesting though. I was like, it's actually looks like
customers.
It looks like a directory.
Here's what you're dealing with.
Let me share my screen here. The actually looks like it's actually a pretty interesting idea. So you just put in a fleet of vehicles. You make a listing for a vehicle. Here's your.
You can rent your car the same way,
Yeah, in a bigger market where you have some thoroughput, I guess. Probably not, rurally.
You can list your car anywhere. I mean, there's always somebody nearby who wants to rent a car. I mean, obviously.
You could add this to your directory pretty easy just to do that.
Out the BMW. I mean, driving the BMW so infrequently that I said I should rent this out 5 or 6 days a month or more.
Yeah. Well, especially here, one thing. In fact, now that you say that, and I'm thinking about it, I may end up doing that a directory for, because it's huge up here for Michigan for summer cottages and stuff. Right. People going to Florida for the winter. Right. There'd be a huge market for everybody just throwing up their house for rent, or the little cottage on the lake for a week that they're not going to be up there, and then just sell it out. Just do like a Airbnb just for cottages.
Is there? I lost internet. I had internet connection.
Yeah.
So is that your area right there?
Photo of yeah.
Yeah, we're going to blackmail you with. We're going to show all the customers, your customers, the picture that you froze with.
Oh. What? Is that your area?
No, I just looked up Coop here real quick to kind of look at it. I was just telling Frank that. We were talking about, hey, you can put your car up for rental and stuff like that. I said I was in Michigan here, and they always have, summer cottages or cottages on the lake, and people want to rent it out. I'm like, do Airbnb for that too. You can just put on your directory pretty easy. But I can buy a full Freightliner sleeper truck for $150 a day. That seems rather cheap.
You can rent.
Well, yeah, but
yeah, well, it's $150, but then there's plus. I mean. I think I'm paying like 35%, around 30 to 38%. I did some numbers of insurance and fees, but it's definitely cheaper than going to Ryder Direct or Penske. Oh, yeah. I did, because even owning a Penske truck, I checked the rates, and what's really good is that their miles are only 12 cents a mile. I think, I don't know. Check that Freightliner, like. That rig, it tells you how many miles it is, like per mile. 12 cents. That's low. It's usually like 20 cents when you're renting.
Oh, it's a mile. Okay.
So in other words, it's your miles. But this is a great, and again, I didn't know about Coop until my buddy's like, hey, well, instead of renting from us for insurance reasons, just go through Coop. And I'm like, holy crap. it's everywhere. I didn't realize that they're all over the country.
Yeah.
Um,
It's kind of a weird. Oh well, yeah. They're.
oh,
I mean, you're in Fort Lauderdale, right? So I mean,
Location.
you're on the list.
Yeah.
Hudsonville, Michigan, did not make the list. Ironically, I don't know. I'm not sure why.
not enough trucks. But it's a great concept. I mean, and what they said is that, like, let's say
anybody watching this from directory land, I mean, I'm just saying you could add this to your directory rather easy. You just make a post type for vehicle. Well, the only thing I'd be worried about is liability or insurance or like being the middleman on something like that. I wouldn't do it, but
no, you'd have to have the right insurance to do it. I mean, same with even with the house. I don't know how that works, but you could charge for advertising though to post it.
Just something usually like that with some liability kind of stuff. I'd probably just steer clear legally of that. Just the amount of money you're going to make off something like that's probably not worth the.
But here's a thing though. Depending on what city you're doing your directory listing for, it doesn't matter what directory you're doing. Coop should be advertising on your page because, like for me, I'm going to go after Coop and say, look, I'll get a banner ad, and all the event people that they always rent trucks. Most people rent; they don't own like we do. So it'd be advantageous for them to be on a site that has thousands of event professionals.
Sure.
It really depends on could be any site. But it's a great concept. I mean, it's basically Airbnb for trucks. And there's a company that did it with cars.
I was telling them that.
Called Park or something. It was on.
Well, I forget what it was called. I was going to use it to rent my BMW out a few times a month. Figured pay for the payment.
Yeah, I mean, there's a company that does it. I used to listen to a business radio, which I haven't listened to in a while. The Wharton School of Business has a station on Sirius, and they had the guy that started that one that basically, you drop your car, let's say you go on a trip, you drop your car, you go to the airport, but instead of going to the airport, you drop the car off to this area, and then people can rent the car while you're gone, and then it goes back to that same area. Then when you get back from your trip, you just pick the car back up,
right? And
then you can pick one up on the other end on your trip.
Right.
I thought about doing that here actually because we've got a bunch of the Tesla plug-in stuff here, and so I was thinking about getting a Tesla back when you could grab one that has the unlimited charging and just leave the car there or go charge it up and then leave it and just rent out my Tesla, with basically free gas, and then just reap the money off from that.
Then you got your beautiful Tesla could get all nasty.
Yeah, ultimately that's why I didn't list my BMW.
Or if there's a murder or robbery done with
right.
it.
Matter of fact, the dealer just called me. Saturday was my 3-year anniversary of buying the car, and they gave me my. He said, "Well, we're curious how many miles you put on the car in the past 3 years. 7,000 miles."
Oh my God, they want it back.
Car looks like it rode off the showroom floor. I get it detailed twice a year. It keeps it real nice.
I lease now.
Yeah, I've thought about leasing, but
well, there you go.
It depends on what you're buying.
There's a company that only does. I think there's a company that only rents. Was it BMW? There's like a car rental company that uses one car type, and I think it's a BMW. Is it BMW?
Well, I want to go to Enterprise Rent a Car and rent my Lamborghini so I can make my marketing video.
Enterprise?
Yeah, Enterprise rents really some high end, depending on the location.
Wow.
Well, yeah, I don't think you have to be too Gucci on this system, especially if you're doing local. You basically just make it like a classified ad where somebody just puts their car on there for whatever it costs a day, and then somebody says, call me. If you want to rent out my Tesla for $100 a day, just call me. Just come grab it. Pay me, at the door, and here's my, I don't know.
But your insurance doesn't let you do that.
No.
You're not allowed to do that with your car.
Oh, you're right.
Well, you can.
You have to pay for it or let them know you're doing it, right?
You can do it if the other company's covering the liability. Like, in other words, if you do it with like one of those like Coop. Let's say Coop lets you do cars.
Right. That's the whole reason to do it through those sites, is because they.
Or this right here, Tiro. That's probably somebody's.
Well, yeah, that's what they said. They said Liberty Mutual. I was going to go back to the front here if that actually works. Yeah, their photo loading is slow, but there's several of them. Looks like they had Liberty Mutual last time.
So the only problem with building a site like this is that you really need the inventory control. Be able to know when the thing is.
And
like
inventory before the control, you need the inventory.
Well, the inventory will come. It's just you need to be able to say, okay, if somebody is requesting it for June 11th, to the 20th, that it's not rented.
It's got a booking system on there.
Yeah, it's not hard to do.
No, in fact, that's one of the things I'm surprised BD does not have is some sort of like a hotel, like a booking thing, or I know just a lot of basic scripts have that where you add a product and that product has its own schedule, right? And so you could book a cabin, for example, from the 14th to the 21st, and then if somebody goes to book it or pay that, it's not available till the 22nd, and the system knows that, and you could then repurchase that product for specific dates. So that'd be a good addition.
You're back to turning a directory site into something that it's not.
No, it's not. It's a list of cabins or a list.
Guys, I'll be right back. I got somebody here. I'll be right back.
Okay. I don't see it. I just don't see it. If you need something that high end.
That's not high end. I'm saying
wait a minute. It's not high end the way you just described it. But if you're going to do that, then you do it high end. You don't do it half-ass. You do it all the way.
Yeah.
See? And then it's no longer a directory site. It's a booking site.
Well, I guess I'd equate it to the directory is not a shopping cart, but they have the minimal digital download add-on, right?
Right.
That's a post type. That's not really a full-fledged checkout or card or anything fleshed out, but they have that available, right? Where you can digitally download.
And that's why we don't call it e-commerce. It's download a digital product.
That baseline functionality of being able to reserve a particular, for instance, they've already got classifieds on there, so it's that add on to the classifieds where I could, you want to rent my jackhammer for a week, you can rent it for a week, and I put a classified, you get it, and then somebody else wants to rent it the next week. To place a new classified is just taken for that week.
But you and I both know that no matter how much they put into that, there'll always be somebody complaining that, but it doesn't have this.
Right.
See, that's why you either do it all the way or you don't do it at all, or you'll never shut these people up. And every time they make a comment like that, not understanding that it really is a directory site first, it just reflects poorly on the product and makes it look like the product is no good, as opposed to what they're trying to do with it is no good.
Right. No, that's valid. So like for instance too, they didn't have the, the page building capability, right? Which is not a landing page developer. Right.
Right.
So, that's not as fully fleshed out as maybe some other systems that are built to do that, or just like building a website.
That's complaining already. They're already complaining about it.
Exactly. So, they're complaining that, it's not mobile friendly. It's in tables, which I agree with them. Maybe it should be Bootstrap code that they drag and drop in there. But again, they added that functionality they didn't have before. It actually works pretty good and looks good, right, for what it does. It's just not. People want more always, and that's just how.
That's why, if I'd have been them, I would have never added that. They're not going to win with that. All they're going to get is complaints. No matter how much they do, it will never be enough. Never. If they made it 99% as good as it can be, those people will slam them over the 1% that it ain't. And that's just human nature. That's the way people are. Oh yeah, it does everything except this. you know. And again, the one person who needs that one extra thing makes it sound like because it doesn't have that, it's no good.
Right.
As opposed to just saying, well, I realize that I'm probably the only person that needs this functionality. Okay. See, I thought I let people stop running my business a long time ago. So if you ain't happy with what I do and the way I do it, I'm sorry. I am not bending to your expectations of my business. And I tell them,
Like
open your own
$50.
business, run it the way you want to run it,
Right.
and then see how much you like taking crap from people. That no matter what do you do, no matter what you do, it ain't enough. Well, why don't you do this? Or why don't you offer that? You know, forget it.
Yeah, that's one thing I try to do with my stuff. I can do what I can do and want to do or know how to do. And if that's not my wheelhouse, I've said it like 3 times this week. I'm like, that's not my wheelhouse. I don't do. So anybody watching, I do not do search customizations on the sidebar. That's not my wheelhouse. And I point them to other developers for that. But yeah, I'm not gonna branch out or try to do something too much. I mean, I'll try to expand stuff, but that's just not something I'm set up to do with my skill set. So I pass it off to everybody. Well, it's literally a slow day. I'm not sure what the deal is. It's just you, me, and or Frank, Jamie, and I. So for today, do you guys want me to go through my presentation? I was going to go over and pretend like we got a huge crowd or a bigger crowd like we normally do.
You want to tape it?
I'm never going to use it, but you got to make your video. So
I got to make my videos. So
what are you talking about today?
Social media posting.
Oh, okay.
So when did you have to? Do you have to jump out at a certain time, Jamie? Or
whenever someone comes, I'm just gonna kind of just put on mute and I'll walk out and I'll go sell what I got to sell and then come back in.
All right, sounds good. Well, I'll go ahead and start it then.
But real quick question.
Yeah.
Do you think is it worth you ever going over the ADA stuff, or did you already do that before?
I did not on a webinar. Did you check out the thing I did? The problem with that is that's the easiest thing, and that's literally the only thing I'm going to do is add that widget on there for that. But like Frank said, it does slow it down on the site.
Tremendously.
If I get sued on that stuff, I don't know. I'll probably just hand them the keys to my website and move on to a different business. To be honest,
can I give Jamie my spiel on this, please? I'll make it clear.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Jamie, look. I don't have a lot because as I've gotten older, I've gotten rid of a lot of crap. But the stuff that I do have is meaningful to me and I care about it. But what I've done is I put myself in a situation where I have totally made myself judgment proof. I took all the equity in my home and I got all my relatives to, on paper, loan me money and then put a note against my home so that if somebody sues me and they look at how much equity do I have in my home, how much money do I owe over and above my mortgage, the court would never make me sell my home to pay off a creditor because there's going to be nothing left after everybody's paid off to give to the creditor. If you got a good lawyer and you tell them you want to make yourself judgment proof, there's a dozen different ways to do it, and no one will ever bother suing you. So if you have money, if you have assets, if you're worried about being sued, make yourself judgment proof. It's not hard.
So will your relatives loan me money so I can have no note on my?
Well, they didn't. I didn't actually. No money changed hands. They just gave me a note.
Oh, okay.
And they registered at the courthouse. It says I owe them $30,000 or $20,000.
Oh, I get it.
So you add all those up, and I owe more than my house is worth. So they'll never make me sell my house to pay off a new creditor or somebody who won a lawsuit against me.
Well, but
So
I mean,
do you have like
incorporate as a business, though. Everybody is watching this. I mean, that's why you try to isolate your business stuff from your personal.
That doesn't stop people from suing.
So now you have a bunch of liens on yourself?
All from my relatives. And what do I care? Because when I die, none of my relatives want my house. You know, the house is. What's that?
So nobody wants the $1 million view.
Well,
so
they all have their own homes. I mean, you know.
So let me share my screen. I'll do this real quick. I'll just touch on it real quick since Jamie was talking about it, and then I'll move on for the presentation for today. So what Jamie's asking about real quick, and I already have a post on this on the website here, so I'll show you guys where to get it. And so the question is, and I think this is, I don't want to call it fake news, and I'm sure it's happening. I know they're throwing her out to them, and maybe it's more of an issue in larger cities because it's more abundantly they can just start throwing the legal stuff out to a bunch of businesses and see who squawks or thinks that they're worried about their compliance. But it's basically the question of this act, the ADA, and whether you need handicap compliance for your websites. And the background on that is I don't know the bill number or what it was, but basically they said you have to, for public spaces, you have to have handicap accommodation. And so they were originally, obviously it's just for brick and mortar businesses for handicap accountability, but it kind of stretched out. It didn't say it wasn't online stuff. And so there were some court cases. Some of them say it doesn't apply, some of them do. And it's, again, state dependent on all this legal stuff as well, usually. But there's some people they're basically suing businesses because their handicap, whatever it is, cannot readily access the content on your public space website. And thus you are violating a federal statute without that doesn't have any really wiggle room that, I didn't know. It's just totally enforceable. And basically saying they're suing you for their handicap accessibility for your website. Now, is that really going to happen? Is that do people do that in big cities? I guess they do. I'm sure it's happening. I would warrant that it's probably a bigger problem or perceived problem than reality problem, in my opinion. But this is basically it's visual impairments, hearing impairment, epilepsy in terms of this, how the site is set up, or people can't see the print or whatever. And so there are certain. If you have a brick and mortar, a nexus of a physical location in an area, you're probably more likely to be, just legally be required to have it. If you're in certain different sectors, like medical stuff, there's all these, Jamie was asking about ADA and WCAG or WCAG, however they say that. There's other stuff like Section 508, HIPAA requirements, GDPR in Europe, and yada, yada, yada. There's tons of them. And these are more of the segments that are usually requiring that kind of stuff. If you're government and public sector, that it's a federal funded or a state funded entity for the website, that needs to be accessible because it's a federal thing, or basically a right to be able to access that information. Any kind of, again, banking or financial, again, is usually government. Academia or education is usually, again, a state thing. That's consumer and retail, again, because they have a brick and mortar business. That kind of would apply to that nexus for hospitality, some of the law enforcement stuff. Again, anything state run or getting money. Now, does that mean that your industry doesn't necessarily have that, or directory, it doesn't apply to you? I don't know. Again, this is one of those weird legal things where they don't make a ruling on it, and because they don't, everybody throws around these frivolous lawsuits that really is a blind person looking to go to your website, and do they really feel disadvantaged or whatever, or is it just? I mean, obviously
they would need voice activation, right?
It's a real problem. I mean, they have problems, right? I've seen, right? So it's a real thing. I'm not making up the requirement, but to be able to say, to sue somebody for not being able to open up a directory or something, to me, that's a little overstretched. And I wish the legal side would just throw those out and go, really, when's the last time you accessed that? And, just start to throw stuff out that wasn't one of these government sectors or like a public thing that made sense to why you would sue, and just get rid of the frivolous stuff and then stop people from doing that. Because they don't, they waver on the legalities and they never make a ruling. It allows this stuff to happen, unfortunately. And so maybe it's getting more out of hand than I know. I'm not sure. But what I have detailing here is basically an online solution called UserWay. And it, again, there's a bunch of legal requirements. They said, quote, if you follow all 32 of these requirements, then you're going to be good and you can't be sued. But this doesn't fix all of them. And you literally have to go and I'll be honest, probably change the entire coding of BD of stuff that's even not accessible to us right now in order to fix it. And so it's almost one of those things like you can't win. You can't tell them you're trying to do it because you're not, because you can't even get in there to fix it. You just have to do a different website. So what this basically does is it allows you to add an app onto the website that kind of fixes a lot of these accessibility problems for various conditions. And I've got it up on my site here, so I'm just going to show you guys what it looks like installed, and you guys can find it here on the directory on how to do that. So if you click on the little dude here, it just opens up with the pop-up, and it basically gives a keyboard navigation, so you can navigate via keyboard instead of having to use a mouse. It has a screen reader. It'll actually read the text on the screen for people. It'll change the contrast, highlight the links so they can find them, bigger text for visual stuff, pause animations for people who have epilepsy. It remove stuff that dyslexic people can't read. Do the cursor thing with the little mouse thing with your mouth, I think is what that does, and does tooltips so they can kind of see the stuff, all the alt tags and stuff easier for that. So this is kind of what it looks like. If I turn the contrast on, it'll invert my colors. I can do a dark contrast, light contrast, or desaturate it for people that can't see colors or like that shocks them. I can change the text bigger on the entire site. I can add the keyboard navigation on there. I don't know where that shows up. I think if you have that on your computer, it shows up. But anyway, you guys get the point. And so now here's my handicap accessible, keyboard navigated, desaturated, large font, no animations, dyslexic friendly, cursorable website.
Can you close that widget real quick? I want to see how it looks on your website.
Okay, hold on.
Go up top. Oh wait, you're in the. Oh, you have your directory, so your home page, your top line stays on there when you scroll down.
One? Yeah.
Got a widget?
No, standard.
Part of BD?
Yep.
Sticky menu.
Sticky menu. I'll show you that as well, since I'll cover those topics for my little brief here. But anyway, you guys get the idea. So I'm just going to reset everything back to the original stuff, and then it'll go back to my original website.
Where do you put the script?
Just in the header like normal. So you get the script.
I know the script, but where to get it? But where are you putting it on your site? On the main, like which page are you attaching it to?
Just your main directory. It goes in the custom CSS head. So if you go to settings, design settings, custom CSS, just add it to the additional head code. That's it.
Oh.
So you can see it. I mean, it works pretty good, right? I mean, I
like it. Yeah.
Add the script in there, and so to me, that if you're worried about that, you add that on there. To me, legally, if I have that on there, seriously, that should cover me, in my opinion.
Yeah.
It's not like you're at least making the effort. But according to the that website you sent me, and some of the other ones I read, that only covers 19 of the 32 legally mandated requirements to make it accessible, right? So I don't think you're going to win on that stuff unless you put a lot of money into it. And at that point, you're going to get sued anyway, and you might as well do 0 of 32 instead of 19 of 32.
I go to some of the biggest sites on the internet. I never see that. I don't see it.
Valid point. Right? You think? I mean, I don't know. There may be some stuff hidden, but I don't even know if Amazon has it. Right? They've got Nexus everywhere. So that's why I think it's blown out of proportion. The only reason that it's allowed to happen is because the courts let people toss them around, and then you settle out of court or you give people money is the whole goal there, because you don't want to have to pay the legal costs because you don't have a lawyer, and you're razor thin in your margins, and they know that, and you're willing to pay a little bit less to save your business and not have to pay legal fees.
Any
You know.
business can contest this in court by saying, if I had to spend the money to do this, I'd have to lock my doors. That's simple.
Well, we're lucky that we're not like Pizza Hut or
Yeah,
Domino's online.
and that's who they're going to sue. They're going to sue Pizza
Yeah.
Hut. They're not going to sue me.
Right.
You know, not if they're smart anyway. And
They're not going to sue me though. I have UserWay installed on mine. There you go. But they probably will.
Well, here's what I want to know. You got all these people with these disabilities. Why can't they just stay off the internet? Is what I want to know.
Because it's a right.
It's a joke.
I don't know.
It's an old Lily Tomlin joke. You know who she is?
Yep, I do.
She used to do a bit which she couldn't do nowadays, where they talked about people in wheelchairs, and this was when all the first things first came out about wheelchair accessibility. And she went through this whole thing, and when she was done, she goes, "But what I want to know is, why can't these people just stay home?" And it was funny at the time.
So I see, Ryan, I see you have a claim your listing on this UserWay page.
Yeah.
Are you going to go after them and have them pay for it? Or
No,
claim it?
I mean, I just have it on there just because I just always do that when I set those up because it's not mine. So I just do that as a so I don't get sued by them. It's
Right.
like I'm not claiming to be you guys or posting
I get
it. It's there's a claim listing.
No, but
you
it's
got
not, it's smart. Like maybe you go, say, hey, look,
yeah.
I got so many people clicking on it or clicking on your listing.
Well, and I do, and that's why I say set it up all that stuff early, right? If I put the statistics on there early when I set it up, then when I go a year later to go tell them, look at all the stuff you have. Now I got all the clicks that people have done for the last year, and it's just a big number. And I'm like, look, 1,000 people have clicked on this,
and now your price is more.
right? So to answer your question, for the question here for today is, how do I set up a scrolling banner on the website so that it stays sticky at the top? So you notice the menu is down here below the header, and when I scroll up, that reappears and just sticks at the top. So I have the full menu available to me here. So where that's at is in settings, design settings tab again in the main menu design section. There's a main menu position option, and there's a locked one scrolling option. So standard is just where it's at, and it just goes away. You can fix it at the top all the time, so it's not in the middle there. It's actually above your logo. And what people don't often do, but it's totally doable as well, is fixed at the bottom. You don't. It would be down here instead of up here all the time. So it wouldn't even be up here; it'd just be at the bottom. And so you can kind of use whatever you want here at the top, but it'll scroll up. I guess if you're down here, it'll go up.
So the top one just puts it on over your logo.
Right, it puts it right up here. Like it'll look like that, right? Only from the start.
While you're on that page, how did you access that UserWay page? Because when I see your UserWay page, it's only that one link. Let's see here.
What do you mean one link?
Weird.
The pop-up, you mean?
Oh, maybe I got to look at your. Is that the listing, or is that their listing?
Well, this is on the site. You browse around my entire site. This is on here. In fact, it's funny you told me about that, because I literally was about to take it off because I need to move it, because if on mobile, this is the little pancake thing for the menu. It actually covers up my menu on mobile, and so you can't really get to the menu.
I did mine to the left, but I haven't set it up yet. But I'm gonna mine to the left.
Yeah, I didn't want it on the left because that's
logo.
my logo. I'm probably gonna do it.
But you see how much white space you have to the left of your logo?
I don't want their thing next to my logo. I mean, it's up to you. I would never put even my own stuff right there. That's not even my logo, because I haven't made a logo. But anyway, once I get a real logo up there, but I wouldn't want it over there. Where I was going to move it to, I just haven't done it. I'm probably going to move it to the side in the middle, because this is usually the chat bar, other stuff down here kind of gets lost. This covers up stuff. That one again is just too primary territory for me. I don't want it definitely in the middle, so I'm probably going to move it right there, so it'll be on the side right there in the middle. is my plan.
I went to find that. Weird.
But you can change the icon too, put accessibility. So here's the other thing on this one that I tell you how to do. I just added an accessibility statement on here as well on my website. So if you just type accessibility on there, it has the accessibility policy.
Huh. And that they created that policy, right?
Right. Yeah, I think it's an example or whatever. So, I make available the user website accessibility widgets powered by a dedicated accessibility server that allows me to improve my compliance with the web content accessibility guidelines 2.1 version or whatever. And it tells them how to enable it. And then again, CO Legal continues its efforts to constantly improve the accessibility of the site and services in the belief that it is our collective moral obligation to allow seamless, accessible, and unhindered use for those of us with disabilities. And so you don't sue me,
So you offering that through the toolkit?
It's free.
Huh?
But yes. What?
Are you offering that through the toolkit?
There it is.
Yeah, it's on here. You just have to.
He's telling you how to do it for free.
It's just an article, and then I just tell everybody how to do it.
And you're not selling isn't there
It's
a
free.
product that goes with it?
No, it's free.
Oh, really?
What did you like copy and paste this? I mean, well, you're not viewing their page, right? In here, or
No, this is the widget. I mean, it's just. So you can pay it, Frank. Like if you don't want them to know you're using UserWay.
you won't have that right here.
You would remove the logo and put your own logo, like powered by Hudsonville.com accessibility program.
Like a lot of the things that you sell was offering this as a service.
No, this is just an article I wrote back in February just to talk about it because it came up in February. Somebody was asking about it.
Measured any speed test with it, page speeds? With and without?
I went from a 12 to an 11. I don't know. It doesn't help. Obviously, I don't know how it hurts. Or these things aren't the
commercial product that people were selling. There were a lot of complaints.
Yeah,
why it was called.
Well, plug your ears, BD. It's not the fastest loaded CMS in the world, right? But
this is a blog article you did, right?
Yeah.
And when you do these blog articles, are you just copy and pasting the stuff from the website, or I know you're formatting it and everything, but you're not actually using the same or a link to the website, right? It's not like embedded from their website.
Well, did I link to the
website? Copy.
You just took their copy, right? Yeah, and their photos.
No.
You wrote all that?
Yeah, I wrote all of it. Look, see, Hudsonville's accessibility statement. This is my site and my photos.
Okay. Oh, okay.
I don't do any half-rate articles, Jamie. This is all my they didn't,
100 copies.
Like you actually took time to do this.
Say directory. This is a screenshot from BD from my directory toolkit site.
Oh yeah.
This is the.
So what do you sleep like an hour a day?
Every other week I do.
Every other week.
Every other week, yeah.
Nocturnal. Or eternal.
It's always 8 o'clock rush hour somewhere in the world.
That's right.
And happy hour.
All right, let me get to the presentation for today.
I thought we did
that. You guys see that?
That's what, the Publer?
Yeah, this is I'm going to go over some social media stuff at the beginning, and then I'll go over Publer as well. I know you have to go at the 3 there. So, can you guys see the screen now?
Yep.
Okay. All right. Today, director webinar number 14. We're going over social media and keys to your success. And so the first thing I want to talk about today is why use social media. Now, this may seem like an obvious question, right? And why use social media is because everybody else is using social media. And so if everybody's using it, your clients are using it, it's a great, potentially free way to get some additional traffic. That seems obvious. But the reality too is that there's always new opportunities to gain new audiences for your business on this stuff, and it's continually evolving. And I want to say, continually creating additional avenues or things. Maybe even if you didn't start up on a certain social media platform, there may be a new one coming out that you can jump on from the very beginning, and gain some early traction as well. And so it's always something new and available. Like just by looking at this picture here, just for everybody on the call here and just on the recordings, just by looking at these icons, this is a fairly recent stock image for social media. But just looking at this, there's just so many changes that has even happened in the last year or 2 years with even these big mainstream companies. Whether it be a logo change like Instagram, that's like the old logo, right, with the camera. Now it's the pink or rainbow thing because Facebook bought them. They're not even a separate company anymore. So that's changed. Google Plus from one of the main vendors, right? That's not even a thing anymore. Now it's Google My Business. Vine, that used to have the corner on the market with those short little Giphy or video clips, memes and stuff like that. And now it's TikTok, right? That's not even on here. So the point is that there's even with the major players or even these huge companies, there's always potential advertising areas or media sources or just other clientele that are going to be on there that you can avail yourself of there. So, when it comes to using social media marketing to build your business, really, to me, the worst action is potentially no action, right? And your biggest problem is being invisible to your potential clients. And then even worse, being potentially talked about negatively, and you not be there to correct the story or to help your client and make a happy customer so that they spread goodwill, as opposed to be the rotten apple in the bunch, because we all know that it takes less of those to upset the order than it does a bunch of positive ones. So as long as you're part of that conversation on the social web and you can hear what's being said about you and, massage those negative perceptions about your business, the better success you're probably going to have. But if nobody's talking about you, or if you don't have any chances for growth, at least on that platform, and social media may not always be right for you, but it cuts out a lot of potential free advertisement and traffic and stuff that you're just not otherwise getting. And so that means you basically need to get involved on the social websites as soon as possible, not only to capitalize on those opportunities it presents to your business, but also develop and protect your reputation and establish the relationships with your customers, because now more than ever, especially with everything being virtual, having those trusting relationships is worth its weight in gold, and social media can allow you to get there. So this is just a graph of social media use over time from 2005 to 2019. And it's based off from some of 3,300 of some of the biggest social media or corporations across the country, and some of their statistics. So it's I forget what forgive me what the actual venue was for this, but it was I think Pew Research, or one of those big corporations. But here's the percentage of U.S. adults who use at least one social media site per day. So as you can tell, obviously, it's been I was surprised at how linear this was over time. But, slowly but surely back in 2019, nearly 80% of the people, across all different age groups, demographics, et cetera, use social media on a daily basis. So if 80% of the people are using social media and you're ignoring social media use, maybe something that you want to reconsider. And so when we break up that data just in terms of demographics, like I said before, it's really interesting to kind of see where the demographics are, or which ones make a difference, maybe for your niche on whether you want to use social media by something else. So here's a graph for use by community type. And you can kind of tell that there's really not that big of a difference. Usually rural have a little bit less use of social media, probably because they have less high-speed internet, maybe even less access to the internet, ironically, just still in some areas of the country. And so, but realistically, these are pretty tight lines across the board here. Really, community type or where you live doesn't really affect your social media use. And so here's the breakup of income. So again, kind of what you would expect. Lower income people use it a little bit less than people that make a lot of money, right? That can have, I guess, a little bit more time to spend on social media, or a little bit more money in terms of the high speed internet, etc. But again, still they're pretty tightly correlated on those, and really not that big of a difference. And so the next one is use by race. Hey, does your community? Obviously, some of these sometimes maybe tied to that location or income piece as well, but just across white, black, and Hispanic. Again, these are all tightly correlated, really tight. And it doesn't really matter, what race you come from for your niche. It's about the same usage rate. And then here's where it really becomes interesting. For the use by age. And while it's seemingly the best differentiation on the social media usage, this is really the only stat that's in these surveys that you can see a difference. And it really shouldn't come as a surprise when you're looking at this, right? Obviously, older generation uses the internet less, right? But, as more Americans have adopted social media, the user base has also grown representative of the broader population overall. You can kind of see the other lines where they're tightly woven. This is the really only differentiating graphic. So obviously young adults, are the earliest social media adopters and continue to use those sites at a high level, where older adults don't. But you can still see that even in older adults, it's a slower linear. It's actually, that's the linear. The other ones are more a little bit exponential initially, but even their numbers are continuing to increase. So even if that's your demographic, they're still, it's not like flatlined. They're still continuing to do more and more on the internet. But maybe right now, if you are catering to more of the 50 plus on the age groups, maybe social media is not the best thing for you. Maybe some other advertising is radio or direct mail, like we were talking about earlier in the call. Maybe that'll work better for you, but you kind of have to evaluate that for your particular niche. But the reality is there's probably some benefit there for you in social media, because even the older generation is up nearly almost 50% of use for the internet. So the real key on that, what I was trying to get out of that discussion, is obviously know your audience, and know the statistics on that. If you're towards the older population, maybe there's a better way to advertise. But even if you are using social media and you made the decision, like I'm in that lower age demographic, or I'm going to go focus on the elderly as they start to use more of the internet as time goes on here, you still have to kind of know your audience and where you're going to advertise, because it's not easy. It's not easy to come up with original and relevant content for a lot of different social networks. It's hard enough to do it for one. And so it results in a poor foundation for the whole social media marketing process for you. If you have to keep, putting all your weight and effort in tons of different platforms. So for starters, you only want to choose those networks that have the most targeted prospects and the largest audience for your niche, but you got to know which ones those are. And as you expand sales, and, if you end up building your team, or you get a bigger corporation, or you get some people on, or maybe even virtual assistants, or you can pay people to do that, then you can start experimenting with other networks. But my recommendation is out of the gate, you have to focus on quality over quantity. And I know that's been said before, but it really focuses on this one, because usually people don't even have enough time in the day to even kind of dive into social media that much, let alone be consistent at it. And we'll talk about that here in a minute, or produce quality content. And we talked about in the last several weeks about how to create good graphics, how to set it up for success for long-term stuff, for UTM parameters and pixels, so you can retarget or remarket to people. And all that stuff takes a little bit of time, but you got to do it right. And obviously, when you have a team, all that stuff adds up, and you can't do that for every single social media platform. So you want to pick the ones that make sense for you. So I want to go over that a little bit today here, just to show the most popular platforms for the actual social media. And so this is the percentage of adults who use these different platforms. And so YouTube and Facebook are obviously the most widely used online platforms, and its user base is more, broadly representative of the whole population as a whole. But obviously smaller, shares of Americans or different niches use different sites like Twitter or Pinterest or Instagram or LinkedIn for their particular things that are more focused on a particular demographic or age group, et cetera, or niche. So make sure you research that for what it is for your niche, because although maybe 50 to now almost 75% of people use Facebook, maybe you're in the art category, or you're doing online sales of marketing or ads or something, and so maybe your niche is all about Instagram. And so even though 75% of you use Facebook, that's not where you're going to make your bread and butter and money advertising. You're focusing on Facebook, even though it's a lower number on here overall. It may be more beneficial for your genre. So make sure that you research that ahead of time. But plainly, if you don't know, or there's not a specific one for your niche, and you only needed to focus on one, it's pretty clear right now that one is Facebook. And I think everybody would kind of realize that or admit to that just off the cuff, looking at that. And the stats prove it right here. It's almost double of anybody else that's using the other platforms. So then if we break it down, usage of the major social media platform varies obviously by other factors such as age, gender, educational attainment, whatever, your niche. We just talked about that. And so not every social media site will help you accomplish your goals, and it's best to pick according to the sites that your customers use. So again, I would always go research yours. This probably won't cover yours, or just don't do it off from this graphic alone. This maybe helps you a little bit, but I always go out there and research this specifically for your niche. So you can kind of see here that, again, Facebook is the clear winner for across the board. We kind of, mentioned that it's kind of hard to even overcome that 2 to 1 ratio that we saw before. But you notice Instagram, for ages 18 to 29, that has almost caught up with Facebook. And so you may have heard that Facebook is for the moms and dads, right? Because everybody's kind of used Facebook back in the day or now have their own kids. And so that's they would say the older generation is using Facebook, as dumb as that sounds to most people listening, maybe. All the newer kids are maybe using TikTok or, Instagram. And so it doesn't really matter what your niche is for selling. If that's your age demographic, maybe that makes sense. I just look at the Hispanic bump up there from they don't use LinkedIn at all, but they do use Instagram. There's a spike there for that. So maybe if you're not focused on 18 to 29, but it's a Hispanic site or that kind of language base for your directory, maybe Instagram is the way to go. And so, make your obviously and then college graduate there is a little spiked up for LinkedIn because it's more of the big time business ones. The corporations that have the big executive jobs obviously focus more on LinkedIn. So some interesting info there, right? But again, always look at your niche and see which one makes sense for you, your particular use. And then the last thing I want to go over here is just social media use frequency. And so for many users, social media is part of their daily routine. Like it may not be the exact time of the day, but they always go look at Instagram or browse, TikTok at a certain time of day or when they want to relax or go look at some funny videos. Maybe they go to YouTube and watch some stuff of interest at a certain time of the day or just once a day. But roughly 3/4 of Facebook users and around 6 in 10 Instagram users visit those sites at least once a day. And so the thing I want to get out of here is not really the numbers or percentages, just to show you that they're fairly high. And then the other point is that if they're fairly high, that some people use these systems at least once a day, they're used to habitual things or seeing things, all over again. So if you are focusing on Facebook, for example, and the people in your niche or generally overall go to Facebook once a day to go look at Facebook, if they start seeing your stuff on Facebook every day, that they're in Facebook and they're liking your stuff and you're on their feeds or they're in your group or whatever, if they start seeing your stuff every day and you're starting to be top of mind, there's obviously some inherent benefits there you're going to get because these people are going there. They're probably not browsing the internet looking for your directory every day, but they're in their Facebook. And so if you can kind of insert yourself in there, a couple times a week, that's going to be a winner proposition for you in the long run, most likely. So just think about that. You want to get in front of your customers because they are actually going to these apps daily, and that's where you want your customers to be. So obviously, let's say you make the decision. Yep, I want to do it. I decide it's Facebook. That's my demographic. That's what I'm going to go for. When you have to actually execute, you need to evaluate your resources. And what I mean by that is, know what you can control, what you have the capability to do, and what you have the resources to do when you're executing this. And here's just some considerations. The first thing is social media takes time. There's this marketing study done by the socialmediaexaminer.com. It surveyed a bunch of different companies, and it found that 58% of the marketers said that they spent 6 hours, and then another third spent 11 hours or more per week to do their marketing campaigns for the social media for those 3,300 companies. Wow. And so, I mean, 5 to 11 hours a day. I don't have 5 to 11 hours a day. You don't have 5 to 11 hours a day to do this stuff. So that's for a concerted marketing effort. And obviously, yours is going to be less, maybe for the size of your company, but it's going to take some time. It may not be 5 to 11 hours, but maybe 2 hours a week. Do you have 2 hours a week just to post social media stuff? You got to think about that. So, and then in terms of your process, I always go back to efficiency of stuff. When you're a solopreneur and you're doing it on your own, are your processes efficient enough to do that? Do you have a software, something that can help you do this faster, easier, and more consistently? You may want something to help you with that. And that's the whole point of this discussion we're going to get to today as well. The second thing is, the consumers expect good looking and unique content, right? If you post the same content to all your social media profiles all the time, they're going to, not watch your Twitter feed anymore. They're just going to go to Facebook because they're seeing the same content. They're going to get sick of that, and you want to be able to have different content, or at least slightly different content on each one. So people are kind of more encouraged, if you are doing multiple, that they kind of want to subscribe to all of them. And then you have to think about who's going to execute how and when, right? I mean, if you don't have those internal procedures set up, when are you posting to them? When are you updating them? Who's updating them? What measures are you putting into place to ensure that all of them have your unique branding or voice? Do you have any, how are you going to know that they actually converted? And we kind of talked about that with the UTM and the pixel stuff earlier, but you got to think about that, because otherwise you're just kind of throwing spaghetti at the wall to see if it sticks. When are you posting? What topics are you posting? Do you have a calendar? Are you going to focus on upcoming promotions or news? Are you going to do funny stuff? Are you going to do funny stuff on Mondays and informational stuff on Thursdays? What's the core focus? Are you going to do all of them? Are you going to have some funny stuff, informational and product-based stuff? You want to kind of mix it up, and that's what I would always suggest. But again, how are you going to do that? Do you have a plan? And that takes time. And then, you need to align that with stuff, that's both seasonal, right? I mean, if it's the old, if it's the holidays for Halloween or Christmas, if yours doesn't have a Christmas theme, right, or they even paying attention to it, they kind of they have Christmas on the mind, and so they look at the Christmas, kind of stuff. So, is your stuff rotating by the season? So think about how you're going to do that, and just think about how much work that takes to do that. Oops, sorry. The next thing is the 80-20 rule, and this is kind of an internet marketing, nomenclature for basically don't advertise all the time, right? If you want to do your social media profile, if you were looking at that across the board, from a year of streams, you'd want that to be an 80-20, 80% other stuff, 20% just marketing or selling your stuff. People don't want to see ads. They're looking for content and stuff to look at, looks pretty, or is funny, or is a memorable quote. Or is a thing about maybe your industry that they didn't know, some sort of informational. They definitely don't want to see your ads all the time. So we've said this time and time again before. I think this would make sure that profile is not a nonstop sales pitch. That's going to be a sure path to failure for you and your business. So always spend 80% on social activities that are not self-promotional, and then 20% on self-promotional activities. Because obviously you are trying to sell something. You are trying to get them on your directory. You're trying to do some sort of call to action, but make sure that's the exception of your post, not the rule. And so the last thing I'd say on this one for your resources is a lot of times mentally, at least, especially for all the directory owners who tend to be A-type personalities or want to be in control of everything, social media, you kind of have to give up a little bit of control. And the reason I say that is because you want your audience to take control of the online conversation and make it their own, so they can establish an emotional attachment to you, or feel like they can open up or talk about your particular niche or genre. The last thing you want to do is like members only. You can't post anything unless they say, I don't want to see any comments on this or that. If the rules are so restricted, or like, I'm out, I got other groups that'll let me do whatever I want, kind of open up the community a little bit more. So you don't want to be too restrictive, but obviously you want to guide and nurture the engaged voices on your platform as well. If you have somebody that's really into your product and then has a problem and likes to say something negative or whatever, that's probably going to be your best evangelist if you're able to fix that problem and to solve their issue. And then instead of saying how bad you are, they're going to tell everybody how good you are, because they just like to comment online. And now it's positive, but you got to engage. You got to basically nurture those people that are willing to talk about your product and convert them from negative to positive sometimes. So the problem is a lot of people restrict it so down, or don't respond to customer questions or comments because they don't want to look like it's running off the tracks or whatever. Then they end up not responding at all. And you have to make time for that. Look that up, especially if it's your platforms. A lot of times, people maybe would like BD even, to be more involved on their own page or whatever too. But, that's what they've allowed to do. They've given up some control, opened it up, the aperture for the most part, right? So people interact, have some freedom of movement on there. And then when necessary, they guide discussions, jump in with some content, answer some questions when they can, invite everybody to the webinars and stuff like that to answer the questions and stuff. So they're not totally engaged all the time, but or answering every single question. But I don't think anybody else would, because I wouldn't be able to answer stuff. Frank wouldn't be able to weigh in and give his opinion if the owner they come over like off the top with like, here's how it is and here's what it works. Then nobody wants to comment on it because like, well, it's obviously can't be done. They gain information as well from us too, right? Of providing resources that maybe they didn't think about before, and it helps them out as well. So give up control, but guide and nurture those engaged voices for your community. So the next thing you got to think about is, now that you think about what you need to do, or maybe some things you're lacking, or maybe things to think about as you start to post. As you start to post, you want to determine your goals on what you want to do. And so I just have some on the screen here that seem to make sense. But why are you doing social media? Why are you doing it? Are you trying to generate direct sales? Are you trying to offer a form of customer service? Do you want to build relationships or boost that loyalty? So the answers to these questions on the screen greatly affect the type of content you publish and the activities you participate on social media. So these are all good reasons, right? You want to generate exposure for business or brand, increase traffic or subscribers. You want to boost your loyalty, improve your business's search rankings, create new business partnerships, generate qualified leads for your website or your directory, reduce those marketing expenses because you can kind of just post stuff on social for free instead of doing ads. You're trying to improve the sales by getting people to know about your product and maybe buy stuff if they go to your directory or your page based off from those posts. And then you try to reduce customer support costs. A lot of times people ask questions on your post and you can kind of answer them right there, and you never actually go into that funnel of support because you can kind of help them in the community where your people are at. So these are the goals that everybody, I think, goes into social media to do. And so when you're posting stuff, think about this. How is what I'm posting going to generate that lead? Or how am I going to boost loyalty by doing this? What am I providing? Think about this stuff when you're writing the content, and that'll maybe shape what you guys are posting. The unfortunate thing, though, is that even though we have the goals and this is what we want to do, that the reality is that we don't actually end up doing these things. So instead of doing this is what actually is the typical execution. So we end up not branding our images because it takes too much time, or we don't have a process for that. We don't get good search results because we're not using hashtags or trending topics. We don't increase traffic or subscribers because we have inconsistent posting and people don't know when to expect to see a post from us. And maybe we haven't posted in a while and they just unfriend us or unsubscribe or leave. We don't boost any loyalty because we're sharing the same content on all platforms. And so again, we're not encouraging them to subscribe to a bunch of the different ones. We're not improving our search rankings because nobody's sharing our directory. We're not sharing our directory content to there. They're like individual silos. We got our directory stuff and maybe all the businesses on there, and then we just start posting random cat memes on our social media, and they're not tied. So we're not sharing anything from our directory on there. Sometimes we're not generating qualified leads because we don't have any way to share our contact info on the post so they can use the tweet that we do or the Instagram post to get in contact with us to create the lead and to allow us to make that next sale. A lot of times we don't reduce our marketing expenses because we don't have a system to do that for us. We end up incurring outsourcing costs because we have somebody else do it for us. I think a recent stat was like 28% of people that do social media posting pay a company or a VA to do their posting for their own company. And so again, reference the number one there where you're not branding properly, or it's not actually your voice from your company really. It's just another company from another country posting for you, and that has its costs. Sometimes we're not improving sales because we're not posting evergreen or popular content. We're like posting it once, putting a lot of work into content. Maybe it was popular a few weeks ago, but it kind of went to the silo of the wastebasket of all these social things. We're not reposting that stuff because it's like one and done. So we're not getting any sales. And then maybe we're not reducing our customer support costs because we're not even responding to comments or reactions. People are posting back. We're not actually helping our support. We're actually decreasing it because now people are leaving because they think we're not a responsive company. So all good ideas, goals of why people do social media, and then it ends up falling flat because we end up doing this. And so what I wanted to talk about this today is because, if these are the problems you end up finding yourself doing, what if we had a social media solution, you use a software service that fixes all that stuff. What if the software solution automated your image branding? It automatically brands with your image on anything you add there, your icon or your brand. What if you, during the post, it auto had hashtag templates where you could add hashtags for cross-linking and auto-suggested, trending topics so that your post will show up higher on the rankings there for Facebook or Instagram. What if you could calendar-based schedule so you can kind of bulk upload a bunch of things or things that you've done in the past, or maybe a quote list or some other stuff, and you just auto schedule those based on your requirements so that you can do it in one bulk time, do it more efficiently, and not even have to go to it for another month, but it keeps posting automatically for you for the next 30 days. What if you could add one post that looks different on every single platform? Same post, different picture, different text a little bit on all three platforms, so it looks kind of unique, has a different post time for each one, so it looks like you're doing them randomly. What if you could auto share from your directory, from the RSS feed that BD provides, and auto post that content directly to your Twitter feed? What if you had templates for any content, including signatures, where you could end up your Twitter post or your Instagram hashtag with a template that has your contact, your information for leads on every single post automatically without you having to remember to do that? What if you had that easy software that's allowed you to execute all that stuff I just talked about? And that's what we're going to do in the next segment here. But there are tons of solutions for this. I'm going to go over one today, but they'll allow you to easily execute all that stuff. And then once you have that and you put all the time to make those posts, what if you could post evergreen or popular content on recurring cycles without any action? So not only can you auto schedule this for next Tuesday at 8 a.m., but if it becomes popular, or if it's something generic that is not time limited, it's a meme, it's a quote, it's a cool photo that you have for your industry, and you could use that day in and day out, post it evergreen, and randomly post it for recurring cycles for the rest of the year, automatically without you having to touch any content going forward. And then what if you could monitor and respond to comments or reactions from those systems right into your posting system? So when you get an Instagram comment, you will be able to tell that in your analytics and respond directly from the system. So that's what we're going to talk about a little bit later. I'm going to go over Publer, your social media superhero. Works with Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, Pinterest, and Google My Business to schedule, collaborate, analyze, and automate your social media needs. And so that's what we're going to go on a little bit later about that. We'll go into some details on slides, how to do that. We'll do a live demo again like I normally do. And so I'll close up that social media presentation. Any questions from anybody here live? Jamie, Frank, that I can answer any questions for you guys. I know Frank probably left because he's got to leave at 3. It may just be you, Jamie. Or if you left, it may just be me. All right, so everybody watching the webinar here, it was a little bit slow day for people. I went ahead and did that presentation for everybody just for the replay, and we'll post that up on directorytoolkit.com and directorywebinar.com, and we'll have that available for you for future viewing. I'm going to go ahead and we'll do the Publer presentation here in just a second once Jamie comes back. I'll go ahead and go over a couple items that are generally has come up in the actual forum here recently, and actually I'll just go to that live and we'll kind of walk through some of the segments there. Let me chat into Jamie here real quick to let me know when you're back in. All right, I'm going to go to the BD Facebook here, and we'll go over some comments for today. Switch the screen. Actually, I'm just going to go ahead and, because I do have to go at probably at 3:30 today. So I'm going to go ahead and jump in with the presentation, actually, so I can finish up with the Publer demo. All right, so we just finished up the presentation on why you need to use social media and some of the considerations for that. So I highly encourage you to go look at that if you have not watched that. Now we're going to go over today's presentation for Publer, your social media superhero, to schedule, collaborate, analyze their social media requirements. So Publer works with you can see them on the screen here: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, Pinterest, and Google My Business. It does offer several different platforms that you can avail yourself of, and it links in there to Facebook, page locations and groups, LinkedIn profiles and pages. Instagram, it does post directly to Instagram without any third-party push notifications or reminders. It does that via Zapier integration. And that is something new that they were able to work again without an app. It just directly pushes it. It also works with Twitter, Google My Business, Pinterest via Zapier push again. And then coming soon, they also have a YouTube integration where you'll be able to post straight to YouTube from the platform. So has a wide variety of social media integrations currently. So I'm just going to go over some of the pretty neat features to focus on that fulfill some of the issues that we talked about in the other presentation. The first thing I want to talk about is grouping social accounts. So if your brand has an account on multiple social networks, then you want to post to all of them together. Wouldn't it be faster to select them all at once? But you normally can't do that. But Publer allows you to do that, and it becomes very handy. So basically what you can do is create several groups of accounts, or if you have different team members, or you want to have different instances where you only post to certain items, let's say maybe one topic set or things, let's say quotes, maybe that you want to post to Twitter and Instagram only. You don't want to put that on your Facebook, but maybe some other posts you want to post to Facebook and Instagram, but not Twitter. Grouping the accounts allows you to have different groupings, so you can group the social accounts to different instances that may make sense, so you don't have to waste time. Again, all this is going to be about efficiency, so you don't have to waste time in the future creating those different groups, or adding Facebook and then adding Instagram, or thinking about for the quotes, what do I use again? Oh yeah, Twitter and Facebook. So it allows you to pre-group those, one button, click access to open that group and start adding your social media content. So after you do that, and in this example, you have Facebook, Google My Business, and Twitter, you want to have a content post. What this system allows you to do is have customized content for each of those different networks. And so it'll basically replicate the original content that you have, break it up by each one, but allow you to then individually, after you set up your first post, change only the items that you want to change for that location. So let's say you say my awesome post, and you add a photo, and you tag it with certain things, and you have some comments that are automated, and then we'll go over that in a second. But all it's set for one post on all three resources. When you split it up for the customized content, now you can individually say, I don't want to say my awesome post, I want to say my awesome Twitter post. So you add Twitter in there. Maybe you want a different image size for Google, so you change just the image, but everything else is the same for Google. Maybe you want some different comments to show up in Facebook. So you can change all that stuff per post. It automates and efficiently saves you time by replicating it, but then still allows you to cater and make customized content like you were individually posting it on that particular social media system itself. So very, very powerful. Again, different captions, emojis, scheduling time, you name it, you can redo it, customized for each platform. The next thing it does is bulk uploading. So you can use a CSV file to load your posts. If you have a CSV file of all of those, you can do that. You can post imported links from RSS feeds. And you can upload multiple photos and videos at once, either from your local machine or from external URLs. So a myriad of upload opportunities. It's not efficiency. It's just not just one post. If you have a mass resource like a RSS or a CSV file or bulk pictures, you can individually post all of those by uploading en masse. Very, very powerful, especially if you have a lot of messaging or you want to automate that, or you're getting some content from somewhere else. You can just upload it, set it, and forget it, just like the old Ron Popeil. The next thing you can do is you can post from RSS feeds. This is one of those things there. So you can see, you can choose to import all posts or import up to 5, 10, 25, or 50 posts. And then you can also use your post titles as captions, or even use your meta description as the captions. And it just automatically pulls that from the RSS feed directly into the system, and then it's just ready to go. You can then publish it using the automated publishing system, and then it's boom in your social media accounts that quick. So great feature, especially for BD sites, because you have a built-in RSS for your directory and your feeds or your events and your listings and your posts and articles. Everything's got an RSS feed. If you have that add-on from Brilliant Directories, you can then automatically pull those posts from the RSS feed and add them to your social media. The next thing it has, which most of them don't, this is pretty unique, it has a location tagging. So, a great online marketing strategy consists of geolocating your content in order for your brand to get easily scouted based on that location. If they search for that location, if they're from that location, and by doing that, you get a useful exposure to increase your engagement in these systems that you otherwise would not get if you leave it blank. So what it allows you to do for location tagging is you're going to be able to select a location for each Facebook and Twitter account that you have selected. And you'll be able to select a location for those. Just as a reminder, that is not possible with LinkedIn, Pinterest, or Google My Business. They just don't offer that, but Facebook and Twitter does. So you can see the examples on the screen here, where it posted at the bottom of the Twitter feed with the location, and then at the top for Facebook that this is a post or you are at a particular location posting about something. So it's actually very unique in that you can post about maybe a visit you're doing later on, or some sort of event like you're at that location and not actually be at that location. So powerful integration. And then the next thing, like I said, is you can do multiple photo posts. So you can attach media just by adding the uploaded external URLs. You can then browse media for your media manager, which I'll get to in a little bit, or you can select just drop dead easy of drag and drop the media from another source. And then you can also upload video up to 1 gigabyte long and 20-minute videos and put that actually just in a social media post, and amazing capability. And again, you can use up to 50 photos on these and turn them into multiple 50 photo posts for your social media. Again, normally very, very hard to do. So I mentioned the media library. So it allows basically everybody to add photos, videos, and GIFs one by one, or again, in bulk. And it displays all the media labels and filter options for easy use. So you can tag different media with different labels. So if you add something in later as a quote or just a image, you can add as many tags as you want, so you can easily find them later, or add comments in there on maybe when you posted them, like who made it, where you downloaded the image from, of your stock sources, maybe when you plan to post it, just some internal notes to you or your team. So basically the labels or keywords that help categorize and easily find it later. Comments help memorize extra details, and the date. It also stores when that media was imported and its type. Is it a GIF for animation? Is it a PNG, etc.? So basically it's team specific too. So if you're adding somebody to the team or have a new team, every team member can view, add, or delete, or search all the media that's in their media library. And obviously the more tags or notes that you add, the easier it is to find. But because the media library is built in, You no longer have to store it on your computer. You can keep all the files right there in Publer and have them immediately ready to repost at any time when you want to do so in the future. And while we talked about the branding earlier in the other video, and why you can always take legal actions on people if they steal your stuff. Obviously, the easiest and fastest way to protect your digital work is by watermarking them. And most all of the other systems do not allow you to do this. In fact, some of even the image creation software doesn't even have the capability to do this. But this system basically allows you to add a watermark and discourage illegal use of creative material without the permission of you, the directory owner. And usually it's like a logo or a stamp or a signature placed over the image, without covering or interrupting it. And that's why they're usually placed in the corners, but sometimes they're transparent. But what this allows you to do is allows you to add an image in there. So I have my directory toolkit one up here as an example. You can change the opacity of that, opacity, however you say that. You can make it a default watermark. You can auto pad it, so you kind of move it away from the side. You can drag and resize it or move it around. And it automatically does this. So when you upload batch photos, if you have it set up to standard, it will automatically add this watermark image automatically for you without you doing anything. If you just upload one, you can add it whenever you're posting. So there's plenty of software, like I said, out there, both online and downloadable, that you want to do that. But when you think about it, that's just an extra not necessary step we need to take. If you use Publer, again, efficiency, it's already included. It already does that for you. It'll be automatically added to each photo, video, and link thumbnail for you in the Publer system. So again, everything in here I'm showing you is very, very powerful, very, very time-saving when you think about all the stuff that you need to do to properly do all the social media requirements to really efficiently do it for your marketing. This takes care of everything for you. The other thing it does is it has hashtags. So hashtags are not new, but they're still powerful elements that can transform your social media posts. And so by inserting relevant hashtags that are either trending or describing your services or products, your brand can reach greater visibility for your directory audience, and in most cases lead to conversions for you. But a lot of people they take work and they just end up not doing them, and it's hurting their conversion rate, and you're just simply not getting found in the sea of content out there on the internet. So if you use the hashtag that properly fits your brand niche, the audience is going to be happy to find what they were actually expecting, right? I mean, how nice is it when you're looking for a certain item and it loads into your feed because it's exactly what you want. And how do they know to do that? Is because you have favorited or you have certain hashtags or words you're looking for. And if you are not providing that in your social media posts, you are missing out on all that traffic. So Publer allows you to automatically show the most relevant or top trending hashtags as soon as you add a content to the dashboard, as soon as you upload a photo, video, or GIF, and as soon as you add a link that has a title and description. And so in order to keep the caption nice and clean, many social media managers sometimes don't actually add that into the actual content. They want to put it in the first comment. And so it doesn't really affect the effectiveness or whatever on the comments. But it has the same effect as putting it directly into the post, but it just is less messy, I guess, in terms of some people because they don't see all those hashtags. So a lot of times they add it to comments. But again, that takes time to do that, to have yourself add hashtags to a comment instead of your original comment. It takes time. So that is why Publer, they changed this. And not only you can search by keywords, it'll tell you whether they have great, good, or poor conversions for those. Not only does that one-click add of those hashtags, but they automatically, you can set up a follow-up comments. And they have a tool that you can basically schedule after the desired amount of time. Like the example on the screen here says, after 4 minutes of making my post, I want you to add these hashtags to a comment. So not only will everybody be using them and making their posts look professional, but also you can put those desired hashtags automatically in a comment from you, automatically tagged to your post at the exact time that you want, 4 minutes, 5 hours, next day, whatever you want. And it automatically does that. So you can provide a nice clean post caption, but also still add the link. So it goes from immediate comment up to 2 weeks later that you can add those automated comments. So again, everything I'm saying here is powerful, very powerful. So just some hashtag tips for us. Throw some of this useful stuff in here for hashtags. Again, this doesn't necessarily apply to Publer, just generically. Again, these may change based on when you see the video because this stuff changes all the time. But right now, Instagram only allows 30 hashtags per post and 10 per story. So, so just keep that in mind. None of the posts will appear if you're using trending hashtags if your profile is private. So you want to make sure that your profile is public. Only 2 hashtags on your tweets is what I'd recommend. Obviously, you only have 280 characters. That has changed as well. But so you want to make the most out of them. Don't just put a bunch of random ones. So keep it to 2. LinkedIn recommends using wise hashtags, which are branded or niche related hashtags to reach the proper audience, because that's what they're kind of focusing on is corporate and branding and stuff. So make sure you follow that. And then Facebook also suggests using engaging hashtags as trending conversation topics, because they're more about news or what's going on, status updates or whatever. So they favor hashtags that are trending. And again, since they auto promote stuff on Publer, helps you out. That is going to be more powerful for you in the long run. So not only do they have hashtags, but they also have short code for hashtags. Not only hashtags, but for anything else as well. So I think everybody realizes how tiring it is to always have to rewrite your phone number or your email for your business, or a bunch of hashtags that you always want to use every single time you create new posts for your social media accounts. Pretty annoying, right? Well, what Publer allows you to do is they have short codes. And this is where they come in handy. You can actually create a simple shortcut name and add any desired content value just by adding the little caret, your short code name, like short code or email or phone or hash or whatever you want. And then by pre-saving that content, you can see some on the screens. Website, you'll put your website in there. Maybe blog, put your blog link. Email, your address, put your business address. You can do anything you want in there. I think up to 30 different short codes, and you can automatically just add those with short codes. It'll automatically strip that out, replace it with what you already pre-saved. Again, efficiency, time savings on this. This is amazing. You can just, save yourself a ton of time by adding these short codes onto the content. Not only do they have short codes, but they have additional thing called signatures. And basically that signature is simple text that will be automatically appended to the end of all your Facebook posts. So instead of manually typing your business contact information or social follow links or hashtags, you can do that automatically by adding a signature on there. So again, if you always end with a signature, you always lead for that call to action or a way that they can provide or get action with you, you're going to get more leads and more content. Not only do they have that stuff automated, not only can you do something separate for any particular Twitter or Facebook stuff, but it also has rule sets within its system to know that what you're putting is breaking a rule for that particular item. And so these change all the time. They stay on top of it and update. But here's just a couple examples where their character limit notification is one of these things that will come in handy. They all have their own rules. So Twitter only allows 280 characters. Instagram only allows 2,200 characters, LinkedIn 1,300, Pinterest 500. So, and again, these may have changed, but they update their thing. What it does is as soon as you hit that, so here's in a Twitter example, all the stuff in red is more than the 280 characters. It highlights everything that will not fit in red and then tells you have 294 characters in red. So right there, I am too long. I can then edit that post and fix it, and I will immediately know what is going to show. Very powerful, saves you a lot of time and frustration that you can get with other systems who are just doing it directly in Twitter or these other platforms, because they will not tell you until you try to post. This one does it for you. Not only does it tell you if something's not going to fit, you can also see a live preview of all your content for each particular item. You can also, as you can see on the screen, change it from desktop to mobile view to see what that post will look like on mobile. And you can preview all those per different types. What it'll look like on Twitter, what it'll look like on Facebook. It'll show you. And here's an example of my Feedier survey software that I have available on directorytoolkit.com if you're looking for a survey or feedback software. Here's what that looks like for the Twitter preview. And I see it right there. I know exactly what it looks like. Has some awesome content. The photo looks exactly like what I want to do. Post or schedule. It auto previews that stuff. You can preview how the watermarked photos looked or what the video will show up as, and it'll auto replace all those short codes for you, so you can kind of see whether that short code live actually looks and will publish like you want. So once you get all that stuff done and you add your photos and you had your hashtags and all the stuff ready to go and you preview and it looks good, then you want to schedule it. So now when you normally do this stuff for social media, you have to do it manually. So I think everybody on the call here is probably tired of manually scheduling those social media posts and tedious to have to select the times for your post over and over again every time you post something. So it's either immediate when you have to go into your program and do it when you want to post, or you have to go in there and do it one at a time. Well, it doesn't matter what schedule you use. The bottom line is manually scheduling it is time consuming and is a pain. So what Publer does is they have an auto schedule and allows you to mix up your content. So most, if not all of them out there, allow you to fill your queue, but they don't give you the option to specify what goes into the queue. So sometimes it's nice to mix up the content you post on social media. You may, for example, want to post a photo and then a link, or then a photo and then a video, and so on. And so this is why for each time slot that you define on this, you have the option to specify what should get scheduled or posted in that time slot. So whether you want a photo or a link or any specific post type in those specific timelines, you can tell the Publer system to do that for you. It also allows you to label the time slots too. So they took it a step further. So even though this is an automated process, they didn't want it to look that way. So they wanted you to be able to personalize your time slots by labeling them. So it helps you find the perfect available time slot when you're scheduling the post. So for example, let's say you every Monday at 8 a.m. you want to wish your fans a good morning or a good week. And so with that, you can label that time slot Monday morning. Now, when you auto schedule some posts for Monday mornings, or the inspirational status update, or one of the funny photo, the auto scheduling, you can schedule for the upcoming Monday, and then you could say that the photo should get scheduled for the Monday after, or using that tag, because you know in that time slot you want it to be that particular type of post. And this allows you to not only to make the schedule, but define exactly which ones go in which posts. So the other thing you can do, can post delay. So you can actually set up multiple places at the same time and trigger to post at different times. So when I say publish to Facebook and Twitter, it's just, I change my image. They're different for each one. Maybe the content's a little bit different. I hit push. The systems are actually smart enough to realize if you're using an automated system, and sometimes they get flagged as spam because it looks like somebody's doing the same post in multiple different platforms at the same time. So what Publer allows you to do is kind of get around that by doing a delay post. And so you can actually post to Facebook now, post to LinkedIn in 5 minutes, and then Twitter 5 minutes later. So it looks like you're doing individual posts in all those different platforms, and it's not going to get snagged by the spam police on those particular things. The other thing it can auto delete. So let's say you put out a coupon for a sale and it expires on Friday, or you have a code that you want live, but you want to kind of take down the advertisement for that after a certain time. Publer allows you to delete individual posts and preset that this basically will delete after 3 days or just go away, and it deletes it out of the system. So for things like that, or for events that don't even matter anymore, you don't want to clutter up your feed, or maybe they stumble upon that. You want to delete, this auto deletes off from the system. And again, very unique and powerful. Not any other system has that. And the reason for that is, one of the other things too, is that the content is very short-lived on all these systems. If you look at Twitter, it's about 15 minutes, Facebook 6 hours, Pinterest is usually longer because it's pictures, about 4 months. But because these kind of go below the fold or get pushed out by other recent content, if you're not reposting or recycling that content, you are going to lose the top of mind, or even not even get seen by some of your feed. Because even if people are following you, they don't see every little bit of content, because the system just cannot post everything to everyone that everybody's subscribing to. So what Publer allows you to do is some posts deserve to live longer. You want to repeat it. Let's say you have evergreen content. It's a quote, really doesn't have anything to do with anything of a particular time. You want to be able to post that quote again and again in the future. This allows you to recycle and recur those posts every certain time frame. So this example on the screen is 4 weeks. But recycling basically allows you to repeat. Recurring basically has a preset where it's set up at the exact time repeating. So every Thursday at 1 o'clock, I post out that the webinar is starting. That's recurring. Recycle kind of allows it to go into the queue and basically be inserted into any of those specific times that you have set up on your system. And then it also allows you to analyze items because it has post insights. So you can have analytics for every post and see what your reach is, your engagement. And so you see that one on the bottom where we have a video that got really good engagement. Now, if I know that has good engagement, I can actually recycle that post, set it up to go out like once a month, and I can continue to use that content that is getting good reviews or good conversion rate, good engagement, and continue to focus and replay those while I either delete, remove, or don't repost the ones that do not And so this is where it becomes very powerful, because you can kind of get the content that works best for you. And so here's some of the things, the analytics that it pulls in from Facebook and Google My Business, from reach, likes, comments, shares, link clicks, post clicks, and video views. It pulls in all the stuff automatically with just by adding your information for these things, and adds it to the stats program for Publer, so you can action those items for better return. And then we talked about UTM stuff last week. It also has UTM integrations with JotURL and Switchy. So if you can avail yourselves of one of those, and you can tie that directly into your Publer program as well. So you can just automatically pull those UTMs from Switchy and JotURL that you did. It'll auto pull in all that stuff that we talked about in the previous webinars. So go look at that video if you did not. A very powerful integration. And then it also has some integration coming soon where you can just pull the images directly from Canva and Crello as well, which we talked about, which we also offer on directorytoolkit.com. Go ahead and look at that video to see what Crello is. But eventually you'll be able to pull those automatically in there as well. So really good timeline of what they're looking to do. There's so many features that they have. This is kind of their timeline. They already published their media library. This is already out of date. They already pushed that, which I showed you. They're going to do the Canva integration, YouTube support where you can directly push to YouTube. They can do some other Android and iOS apps eventually as well, analytics and other reports, and actually do a browser extension. Lots and lots of stuff they're going to be doing. So if you avail yourself of that, it's going to be even better in the future. So go ahead and stop the presentation there. Jamie, I know you're back. Are you still there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Awesome. Hey, I gotta run. Hopefully you got some stuff out of the stuff today. I was just doing the presentations for the rest of the webinar there. So thanks if you're